Russ Rogers here from the 17 Law Studio, and today I want to ask you, do you want to be right or do you want to be rich? Do you want to be right or do you want to have a peaceful marriage, or do you want to be right or stay married? This entire show, I'm going to be talking about how to get the nonsense out of your marriage, how to get the petty things from turning into a nuclear war. Every single couple I'm around has an issue with what I'm going to discuss today. This concept may be the one area that your marriage needs to flourish, and for some of you, this may even save your marriage. People who don't understand this concept is driving their spouse crazy. Yes, right or rich, right or happy, right or peace. Well, I'm going to discuss this, and I think you'll see that what we're going to talk about today will make a huge difference in your marriage. And I love what Benjamin Franklin said. Remember not only to say the right thing in the right place, but far more difficult still is to leave unsaid the wrong thing at the tempting moment. I do have a chapter about this in my book, The 17 Laws of Marriage, so when you can, check it out. But here's a true story. Some things do not matter whatsoever. My youngest daughter was so slow in growing hair that she didn't have anything except for a little bit of blonde fuzz for a long time. She was probably 2 years old before she was able to grow it any longer whatsoever, and we always dressed her like a baby girl. If she wasn't wearing a dress, she was all decked out in pink. No doubt she was a little girl. It's ironic that now she has the thickest hair of anyone in our family. Anyway, our adorable little dollar was the cutest thing alive, with her little pink dresses and little pink bows in her head, on her head. Nevertheless, inevitably, every time we went out to eat, the server would say, "Oh, what a cute little boy. How old is your son?" And early on, we would say, "Well, actually, she's a girl," which led to the server apologizing over and over till it really got awkward. It was really weird. It was such an issue that no matter how girly her outfits were, the same thing would happen. We wondered if we would have to go through this conversation every single time we went out to eat. Servers always felt so embarrassed that it was so weird for everyone involved. So one day when someone said, "What a cute little boy," I said, well, thank you very much. We're so proud of little Nick." And no joke, that was the first time. The entire night, it didn't get weird, and it was an unusually peaceful dinner. And from that point on, she was Widow Nick, and never got awkward again. Now, my point is, I could spend every night out and prove a point that she's a little girl, or I could let it ride and let everyone have a good time. I could have made my point. Well, she's in a pink dress with ruffles and her head is wrapped in a giant pink bow with flowers. So it would be any stretch of the imagination to think that she was a boy, unless you're an idiot. No one else on the planet seemed to think she was a boy, except this crazy phenomenon just seemed to happen at restaurants. I don't even understand why. So I could have proven my point, but it would have continued to embarrass the server and cause other awkward and unpleasant evenings. I could have decided to be right, or I could have decided to have peaceful dinners, and in this case, I chose peaceful dinners. Over time, we decided to have fun with it and are still having fun with it. She is not scarred for life. She's a beautiful young lady, married, graduated from college, working in her profession, and loving life, and probably has the sweetest and cutest little girl in America right now. And to this day, I'll affectionately refer to her as Widow Nick. And she'll sign my Father's Day cards and birthday cards as Widow Nick. Again, I could have decided to be right, but that would have been super selfish of me to correct the server each evening just to prove a point that really didn't matter. I would have shown to everyone around me that my only concern was to correct others and be right. And in the end, it didn't matter. No one cared. I know you're on the edge of your seat wondering, how is this going to help your marriage? What difference does this make? So here we go. See, I like being right. But being right doesn't supersede keeping a good relationship. Here are some real conversations I've literally heard. For example, the wife says to the husband, "You never take me out to eat anymore." And then the husband says something really stupid like, "Yes, I do. I took you out last week." Or the wife says, "You don't tell me you love me anymore." And then there's another dumb response. "Well, I told you that a few days ago." And here's a husband telling some friends a story. "Hey, last summer we went to Disney for a week." And then the wife interrupts with, "It wasn't last summer. It was the summer before." Or the husband says, "Every Saturday night or every Saturday I have to mow the yard." And the wife chimes in, "Well, I mowed it 3 times this year." And as you can see in each of these cases that I just mentioned, someone has to be right all the time. And my question is this: Do you want to be right? Do you want to be right or rich? Right or still married? Do you want to be right and cause strife, or does it really matter how many times you mowed the grass this summer? The question I frequently find myself asking couples is what you're doing or saying helping or hurting your relationship? See, because I believe you're either helping or hurting your marriage in most cases or most relationships. So is having to be right helping or hurting your relationship with your spouse? I've yet to see that having to be right actually helps the marriage in any way. Obviously, much of what they're saying isn't helpful, or they wouldn't be talking to me. So here's how it goes when someone doesn't have to be right all the time. And I'll go back to my other exact example. The wife shares, "You never take me out to eat anymore." And the husband says something smart. "Oh, you're right. How about we go to your favorite restaurant tonight?" And the wife says, "You don't tell me you love me anymore." And the husband grabs her up and says, "I love you. I should tell you that more often. Please forgive me." Or the husband tells some friends, "Last summer we went to Disney for a week." And the wife says, "Man, we had a great time." And the husband pointed out, "Every Saturday I have to mow the yard." And the wife chimes in with, "Oh, thank you for taking good care of us." Can you see how peaceful the second examples are? This is huge. Your words will set a fun day in motion or a miserable day, depending on whether or not you have to be right. Some of you will have to work on this because you are so used to having to be right. And you might even argue with me that about having to be right is not something you have to be right about. And there you go, arguing that you have to be right. I am far from done and have a ton more examples. And I want to share with you the secret sauce that you can use right now, literally right now, on being right. So you're wondering, can I ever be right? Am I just now a doormat and I have to bow to stupidity for the rest of my life if I want to stay married? Absolutely not. Of course not. We will always use common sense. Does this mean that you need to apologize sometimes when you don't feel like it? Yep, because that may be what's best. Does this mean that you may not be able to get every little annoyance off your chest with your spouse? Yes, because you are being selfish. If you're willing to sacrifice your relationship just to make yourself feel better for a moment by proving you are right or proving your spouse wrong. Does this mean that your spouse may leave the situation thinking they were right and you know you will go to your grave knowing otherwise? Yes, but if it helps a relationship and it's on something that doesn't matter and will never matter in a million years, why would you want to be so selfish to prove yourself right and your spouse wrong? Now, is this fair? Doesn't seem fair, does it? Well, it doesn't appear to be fair if you're making that bar for fair, whether or not you get to prove yourself right. If you make the standard for whatever is best for your marriage is fair, then yes, that is the most fair thing you'll do. So maybe I should repeat this. It doesn't appear fair if you are making the bar for fair, whether or not you get to prove how right you are. But if you make the standard for what's best for your marriage the most fair thing you could do, then yes, this is the most fair thing you can do. During those times when you're trying to be right, how'd it go? Did you accomplish anything other than make the situation worse? Did you feel better? Did everything go better? Did your spouse just love you for all this? It may not seem fair, may not even seem fun, may not do a lot of things, but oftentimes not having to be right is the absolute best. And I have to ask this: what have you accomplished by proving your case if it puts the relationship in shambles? If it sends the day in a tailspin, why would you do that? Let me share some other similar concept that I see all the time. And what I'm about to share will help your marriage in a big way. And here you go. Please give your spouse a chance to be right. Give them a chance to be right. Give your spouse the chance to make the right decision. And if you're always telling them the obvious, then you want to be right all the time, and your spouse is taking it that you think they are stupid. Give your spouse a chance to make the best decisions, and if they don't, then chime in. Otherwise, you are driving your spouse to the brink of wanting to hurt you. Here's some examples so that this will make more sense. I've heard these things, not necessarily in my family, but around families. Hey, don't forget your shoes. Why would you say that? Did you think I was going to go barefooted? How about you wait until you are walking out the door, and if you don't see shoes on your spouse's feet, then mention it. Or while driving, unless they ask you, let them drive to where they're going without chiming in. You're saying, okay, if you turn here, you'll avoid that red light. And if you go the interstate, it's a bit quicker. So what if it saves you 90 seconds? It's not worth driving your spouse crazy. And does it really matter that you got there a minute or so early? Unless you are taking them to the ER, let's not treat them as if they're so stupid they can't find the same grocery store they've been going to for 7 years. Here's another good one. Hey, honey, be sure to grab the keys to the car. How else did you think you were going to start the car? Why not wait to make sure that you're at the car, and if the keys aren't there, go get the cars yourself and apologize for not getting them sooner. Or if you see the keys on the counter, grab them and say, hey, honey, I got the keys for you. Here's one that makes your spouse feel like a child. Don't forget to wash your hands. This is when you have mistaken your spouse for your child. Wait and see if they're going to sit down at the table before you suggest it. Here's one. Be sure to close the garage door when you leave. Okay, the last 400 times I left the house, it was closed. So anticipate it happening again. If they forget, get up and close the garage door. It's really not that hard. Hey, be sure to put gas in your car. What? Cars don't run on Pop-Tarts and Cheez-Its? If it's that big a deal to you, then say, hey, honey, I noticed you're low on gas, so I'm going to go fill up the car so you won't have to tomorrow. Hey, this is funny, but it happens. You're pulling up to the drive-thru at Chick-fil-A. Hey, roll down your window so you can order. No way. Is that how these fancy drive-thrus work now? Okay, no more lip reading. If your spouse can't figure out how to talk to someone through a drive-thru, then they're the one driving, you have bigger problems. This here could drive a guy crazy. Be sure to mow the grass today and take out the garbage. Well, I mowed the grass for the last 10 years on this day, and I always take out the trash. Give me a chance to do it, and then if I don't, then suggest it. Now, if your spouse comes up with an idea that works, don't automatically try to change it. It's okay to do something different than the way you would have done it, such as this. Hey, honey, I was going to clean out the garage and then take the old clothes over to the Salvation Army. And then you say, hey, why don't you take the clothes over to the Salvation Army first? What difference does it make? If you keep this up, they will stop bringing ideas to you because they know you're going to be changing it. Okay, on all this today, you don't have to be right, and it's okay to let your spouse be right. Give them a chance to be right and stop driving them crazy. There are some things that really don't matter, and whether you're right or not, and at the very least, stop trying to be right on the stupid little petty stuff. Okay. Having to be right all the time adds up. Let your ship take on water. And if you keep that up, the marriage ship will sink. If you decide you see some validity in this, but aren't totally sold, stop trying to be right on the times when it will not ever matter in 100 years. Not long before getting ready for the show, I was with a couple who argued 7 minutes. No joke, 7 minutes. I could see right off the bat that it was going to take a while, so I looked at my watch and I timed it 7 minutes. And what they were arguing about is that did they go on a certain vacation in 2014 or 2015? I'm not even sure I remember where they went now, and I'm not even sure why we were talking about it, but they're still mad about it. It actually got embarrassing for all of us. Anyway, let's take another step here, and here's a good point. Having to be right after a misunderstanding causes devastating damage. Let's say your spouse misunderstood you. Thought that you said one thing, but you said another. Okay, you're trying to be nice, but your spouse took it as sarcastic. What if you've done like I've done way too many times and said something that you regretted, and the second it came out of your mouth, it's like you couldn't put the toothpaste back in the tube fast enough. But your intentions were pure, and yet the second it came out of your mouth, you knew bad things were going to happen. So here's the problem. Let's say that Bob hurt Betty's feelings and really didn't mean to hurt her feelings. Just because you didn't mean to hurt someone's feelings doesn't mean that it didn't happen. If I punch you in the nose by accident and really didn't mean to punch you in the nose, can I immediately say, oh, I'm sorry, it was an accident? And will the pain and the blood immediately go away because I didn't mean to? All the while you have tears running down your face and blood running out of your nose. I'm trying to convince you, I didn't mean to, so you really shouldn't be hurting. And yet you have tears and blood running down your face. I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's what happens all the time. Bob hurts Betty, didn't mean to, but he did hurt her feelings, and then he's trying to defend his actions for the next 2 hours. Has that ever gone well for you? Of course not. If I busted you in the nose by accident, I'm going to grab a rag, grab some ice, and I'm going to be apologizing. I'm going to help you get better because it's not about me. So listen to me. If you hurt someone and feel that you need to get it off your chest by defending your actions to prove that you didn't mean to hurt them, you are being selfish and insensitive, and you are making it worse. You can call all your friends and tell them you accidentally did something, and now your wife is mad at you, and then you can get some sympathy there. But you did hurt her. So be sympathetic, apologetic, and kind. Listen, try to understand, and show some compassion. So here's a reality. Here's a reality of the situation. It happens all the time. Both are right. One got hurt. The other one didn't mean to. However, because someone was dead set on being right, it gets ugly. And it really gets out of hand quickly and often, unfortunately, lasts for days. So I'm going to give you an example. Here's how it went and went badly. So Betty says, so you're going to park your truck in the garage? And Bob says, no, I'm going to park it on the roof where I always park it. Of course I'm going to park it on the garage. And then Betty says, you're being hateful and hurtful. Bob says, well, of course I'm going to park it in the garage. That's where I always park it. And Betty, who's pretty mad by now, would say, well, you didn't have to be so hateful about it. And then Bob says, well, I didn't mean to hurt you. I meant I always park in the garage. I was just trying to be funny, and you just kind of took it wrong. And Betty says, well, you said it ugly, and now my feelings are hurt. So are you saying my feelings aren't real? And Bob says, all I said was one thing, and now you're taking it the wrong way. I was kidding. And now Betty says, not only are you nasty, and now you're getting mad at me for it? And Bob says, I'm not upset. You're just blowing this out of proportion. And Betty says, I'm the one blowing it out of proportion? I was merely asking you a simple question, where you're going to park your truck, and now you're ugly with me. And Bob will then probably just walk out the door and slam the door, and then Betty's crying, and it just gets bad. So everyone's mad. Everyone goes to bed mad, and probably for days, everyone's going to be mad. So here's how it should have gone when someone says something stupid. And of course, we wish we wouldn't say something stupid, but that's living in a unicorn world, and sometimes we say dumb things. So let's just go back over this again. Okay, this is how it should go. Betty says, so you're going to park your truck in the garage? And Bob says, no, I'm going to park it on the roof where I always park it. Of course I'm going to park it in the garage. And Betty says, oh, you're being hateful. And Bob says, oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I'm sorry. I was being stupid and insensitive. I've loved you more than life itself. I wouldn't want to hurt you. And Betty says, oh, wow, you're the most wonderful husband in the world. I'm so lucky that I married you. And I hope you see the difference in how that goes. But I realize that second one that I was trying to clean it up probably wouldn't happen quite that easy. So let me give you more, maybe something that would happen in a real situation. Let's say Betty says, so, but I did want you to kind of see that they are different. You can see the dynamics of it changes just like that. So Betty says, so you're going to park your truck in the garage? And Bob says, no, I'm going to park it on the roof. That's where I always park it. Of course I'm going to park it in the garage. And Betty says, oh, and you're being mean and hateful to me. And Bob says, oh, you're right. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. I don't know what I was thinking. I love you more than life itself. I wouldn't want to hurt you. And Betty says, well, thank you for saying that, but why would you say that? And then Bob says, with wisdom this time instead of stupidity, man, I was just being stupid. I just wasn't thinking at the time. I never meant for that to come out. I'm sorry. I love you. Please forgive me. And Betty says, well, I'll forgive you, but my feelings are still hurt. I can't believe you said that. And Bob said, well, this is totally my fault. I never want to do that again. And now finally Betty ends up with, oh, you're wonderful, and I'm so glad I married you. So even if your spouse keeps pushing the envelope, pushing you, stay the course because you're the one who did the hurting and it's never about you. Okay, it is time to close, but I hope you can decide today that you would rather be happy than right, that you would rather have a peaceful marriage than have to prove yourself right and your spouse wrong. There is no way you could ever convince me that being right all the time is ever helpful in any situation. Before I go, I have to share that you need to go to the17laws.com. Check out my Marriage Commitment Challenge coin. It's truly a game changer for your marriage. While you're there, you can also pick up my books, The 17 Laws of Marriage and The 17 Laws of Parenting. And please sign up for my blog. And remember, what I'm sharing with you isn't perfect, but I think I do a pretty good job of helping families. See you next time.